Greetings, crew members. We're here one final time to discuss Bioshock Infinite. We just finished our playthrough. Tamara has a lot of feelings and emotions about it. It was my
emotions.
Yep. We're here to dissect it and talk about the story, the characters, the plot lines, how we've lived with Bioshock Infinite for, it's going to be 10 years in 2023, Tamara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, to get us started, I am Chris.
And I'm Tamara.
And we are here
to do our Bioshock Infinite retrospective.
Yes. So, to start, Tamara, thoughts?
It's my favorite video game for a reason.
Yes.
It's really good. And everything's so well foreshadowed. Like, if you go back and play it right after playing it, which is what I did the very first time I finished Bioshock Infinite, I immediately started it again the next day.
I remember having that same experience. Yeah, I think a lot of gamers did. And immediately like, oh no, I've got to go back now
and they tell you in like the first 2-3 hours.
Really within like that first opening Chiron, the first opening like text crawl that just says like the mind will struggle to maintain its reality and make up fake thoughts.
Yes, but
and
more fancy talk.
On Quantum Physics by R. Lutece, and you're like, was that an actual book? Was that a book somebody wrote? Because you don't know, you have no context at the start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you come in on that the first quote you hear is the quote that they echo later in the game.
Oh.
Are you afraid of God?
No. Like from the beginning of the game.
I'm afraid of you.
Yeah. And it's the whole, are you afraid of God? No, but I'm afraid of you. And it's like, yeah be afraid of Elizabeth.
Because it's like he hasn't really seen God's power, but he's seen Elizabeth's power, and it's terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's also...
She can wipe you out with a tornado if she wants.
Oh yeah, that's not even the height of her power. She can erase you from the timeline, as we find out at the end. So, Columbia is a wonderful setting as well. As far as the story goes, too, it really feels like it's intertwined with the setting. Like,
it feels like there is no
story, and the story informs the setting.
Yeah, there is no Columbia without the plot, and there is no plot without Columbia. It's like it's a big part of... He wouldn't be able to get away with this if he were living on American soil. He wouldn't be able to do what he kept doing because that's why he left.
Yes. Because
they wouldn't let him do this shit. So it's key to the whole plot, and it's really important, and it's beautiful, and the architecture is gorgeous, and then when you fuck everything up, it looks beautiful while you're fucking shit up. It's just such a great game. I love, especially when you're watching the cutscenes, or like when you're standing in the elevators, and it's giving you like little slices of what's happening in Fink's whole like plant and stuff, and you can see just how terrible it is. Like the clock that tells you when you go to sleep, and sleep is like tiny, and work is huge, and leisure is tiny.
Yeah, it gives you like a really sense of the life people are living in this world.
Yes, and it's bad. It's a bad time for anybody who's not the rich white people.
Yeah, the upper crust.
And also it does that thing too, which I really appreciate in games like Horizon Zero Dawn, where you start off small. You start off with like a base idea of where you are. So what do you see when you first show up? You see all the privileged people's houses. You see the carnival.
Very pretty, and it's, you see the kids playing in the street around the fire hydrants.
And then as the plot progresses, more and more of the world opens up to you, and you learn more about your setting while you're learning your plot. And so it seems like it's going hand in hand.
Yeah,
right?
You get little hints before you get to the carnival, or the raffle rather. Like, people talking about the Irish problem, and the people... just
that's not before, that's after.
Well, there's a video on the Irish problem after, but you can definitely hear people chattering about, stay away from him, he looks Irish,
or you can like the whatchamacallit. I snapped my fingers. I'm sorry. That's probably sounded terrible on the mic. But the way you go to the shooting gallery, and how racist all the caricatures are of these people, of the Vox. And they're like, shoot the Vox from the sky.
Literal red-lipped monkeys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not good. It's so racist. Columbia is so racist. And you spend the whole first hour and a half, if you're me, wandering around going, this is so pretty. Look how beautiful this place is. Look at all these.
Yeah, you're taking
so
by the
gorgeous.
cobblestone streets.
Right. He has no butt.
Oh no, he has no butt.
Oh my god, they never give male statues any butts. I bet you the statue of Columbia we're gonna see later has an ass. It's floating in the sky. Like, how can
the
you...
Beach Boys being sung by a
quartet.
Yeah.
And then that song coming back in the credits after you finished everything, and it's like, oh wow, the song means something. That's why I listen to the song all the way through every time, because it means something to the narrative. It's foreshadowing in its own right, and it's also diegenic sound.
Yeah, and it sets up that, like, almost right away that, like, there's something temporally wrong. Because God Only Knows is not particularly huge Beach Boys song.
But
it's
if you
not
know
good
the Beach
vibration.
Boys...
Yeah, it's not good vibrations. But you would be like, well, there's something odd about the fact that you have this displaced song being sung in this kind of early style. And then that just compounds when you start to hear, you know...
Cyndi Lauper
or Devo.
Fortunate Son.
Yeah.
Like Fortunate Son.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's so well done. And I love that woman's performance. And apparently people don't like it. I read on the internet, but I don't know how true that is. I liked it. I thought it was great.
Well, it's supposed to be a kid singing it too in the middle of a street during a revolution. It's not like a studio recording. But that's kind of like your first hint. And then you get that big just smack to the face, almost literally, with the raffle.
Yeah.
You know, and you're kind of setting up early, like the Lutesses are there, they dropped you off, and then they're lurking around, and you get that very obvious if you look through the binoculars, they're missing. And
well, you look through the binoculars, you see them juggling, and then when you pull away, they're gone.
Yeah, it's
and you're like, well,
something is definitely up.
What the hell was that?
And they tell you, and you get the telegram telling you not to pick number 77, which you do.
Because constants and variables, and that's one of the constants is you always pick 77.
Yeah, that always kicks shit off.
Yeah.
Yeah, which kind of gets into like the reveal at the end informing the rest of the story. We know that like this is something like the 117th Booker that they've just basically man-cannoned.
It's the 123rd, and then every time you die and you see that actual like doorway that opens and not Elizabeth's cutscene, that's another Booker on the pile.
Yeah, so they're just man grenading Bookers at Comstock. That's kind of their plan is, you know, if we throw 200 at him, eventually the 202nd's going to get lucky.
Yes.
You know, it's...
And then we do.
I'm sure that you'll just calmly ask him to stop and then...
And you abandoned her!
Oh, whoa. Okay, maybe...
You did what you wanted! Tell me!
Fine, Elizabeth, it's just great chance. It's okay.
Nothing is
oh no, that's not... Are you pressing any buttons, Tamara?
Cut off her finger!
Yep.
Put it on me!
You killed him.
Yeah, that's what we came here to do. The 123rd Booker, plus however many times I died. Yes. I'm not going to count. I did that once. When I was playing it, I played it on normal mode with a friend of mine, and we switched back and forth. And I actually did count how many Bookers, and I ended up with 137 Bookers, which was pretty good, but it was also on normal mode. So it's like, what's with the door? Oh, that's what the door is, right? All of that stuff is informed by the ending, and the ending's such a good ending that it
really ties it's one of those things where it feels like every plot point sort of leads towards it. There are some plot points that do feel a little truncated and a little like...
Well, you don't like the middle bit with the multiple...
Once you get to the Chenlin thing of, you know, he's dead in this universe, but he's alive in another universe, so we can just go to that universe. It kind of also makes you lose touch with the setting, because like you're not in the same Columbia throughout the entire game. You're literally jumping from like 5 to 6 if you count every time you die. Like when he dies, is that a new Columbia every time too?
I don't think so. I think
or was it like what I said in last episode where like Elizabeth can literally just see like Booker comes like through a doorway and then runs into the hallway and there's screams and gunfires, and then another Booker comes through the doorway and just runs into the hallway. And she's
Be right back, Liz.
Yeah, is she seeing that? Like, or is it because of the thing they say where your mind struggles to justify the things it can't justify? Is she justifying it in her brain through the continuous kind of...
Oh, that's a good question. Does she get affected by her own powers? She doesn't really when we switch, but like Are those universes where Elizabeth's still alive?
Yes.
Are those does Elizabeth know when you skip from your own time to another? Like, are more Elizabeths going? Is it a different Elizabeth every time? Like, when you step through, does she become that universe's Elizabeth?
Is it kind of like the Rick and Morty thing where it's like nihilistic, like it doesn't matter because there's so many and they're all just variations on the same that...
That's not the tone I think the game gives when you see all the doors. Well, the tone it gives is wonder.
This is where it starts to get like trippy.
That's stars. They're doors.
Doors to
everywhere. All that's left is the choosing.
Robert Lutece, the male Lutece?
Robert and Rosalind.
Yeah, Robert says specifically, like when he's talking about how Booker is struggling to justify with false memories in his head his situation he's in. He's like, well, I went through the very same thing.
Yeah, so and the point is he got over it. He figured it out.
I think that like when he came over, he probably legitimately thought he was Rosalind's brother, right? And like started to justify that in his head, and it kind of caused some problems, and he broke through it. And maybe he was sort of the moral compass. The Luteces are a whole other conversation.
Oh,
but, yeah. But he feels like maybe it's like Robert was sort of ended up being the moral compass because Rosalind was so focused on scientific advancement. Yeah.
Well, she even says, I don't see any point in trying to save her or stop what's happening because it already happened. So I don't see any point in trying an experiment where you've already failed. She's like, I don't see a point. But Robert's kind of going at it. Look, constants and variables. Some of those variables is Booker. And the Booker that we get, maybe we'll get one that has the right variable that makes it so he can get them.
Just keep throwing Bookers at him until he eventually shuts down. Yeah, it's interesting that like, you know, and they say millions or possibly billions of possible worlds. So 100 in the grand scheme of things, like 127 to 150 Bookers isn't gonna, make that big of a difference. And especially if we go by the logical conclusion of the end of the game, which is that she erases Comstock entirely from all timelines by converging on a single point and drowning, I think, the infinite Bookers at the same time as one entity. Yeah.
So then no more Comstocks because he doesn't get to live beyond making his choice.
Yeah.
But that also means no Elizabeths.
Which we know is not the case because like there is the DLC that we will address later once we play it first. That's
gonna be a whole other Tamara plays. Yeah. We already talked about this, what we're playing next, which is
Beyond Good and Evil. And
I'm going to be sitting and watching him play this time, so that'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about that franchise. It's just one game. It's unfortunate that it's not more, but we're not here to talk about that yet. We're here to talk about Bioshock Infinite. And the other thing I want to talk about is the enemies, because one thing I like about Bioshock Infinite is it feels like a natural escalation. Because if you look at the original Bioshock, you had basically your variations on your splicers. You had your Houdini splicers, your spider splicers, your leadhead splicers.
And then you're just your regular old
thug
splicers.
Yeah. But like they were basically the same. And then you just had to worry about the big daddies. And there wasn't really anything beyond the big daddies except for the ubiquitous boss fight at the end. With this game, it really does feel like they scale it, because you start off with like your regular old enemies and human enemies, and they come in a bit higher variations as you end up with firemen and then the Brotherhood of Crows. But then you can stack on top of that. You got Patriots. You have variations on Patriots with rocket launchers, Patriots with chain guns. And then you've got the Handyman on top of that even further. And then kind of looming over everything is Songbird.
That you never end up fighting.
Yeah, you never end up fighting Songbird directly, but it feels like Songbird is there as like kind of like the ultimate extension.
Songbird feels like a real and present danger. It feels like Songbird is, haunting. Every time you see one of those stupid Comstock singing statues, you're like, fuck. Right? Yeah. It's like, great. Look at this statue. That's definitely going to call that bird. Great. Yeah. But
the enemies themselves, like they do create that situation where like if you got two patriots and a handyman and then like a bunch of Brotherhood of Crows people, you have to address them. Like, what do you kind of approach
that final
that
wave?
Yeah.
Yeah, that final wave really is.
Do you have like a strategy you like to approach that stuff with, or?
I mean, you saw it's mostly just ah. Here, just cut in a bunch of me going, no! Oh shit, oh shit, oh no! Oh no! Fuck. Ow.
Haven't found anything.
Birds! Shoot! Shoot him! Oh. See, you saw.
Yeah.
It's like, some of them I have a strategy, but then I try the strategy and it doesn't work, so that I just switch it up and try something else. That's one of the really good things about the game, is that you're not... I can choose to have a machine gun and a crank gun, or I can have a hand cannon and a shotgun. I don't have to pick one light weapon and one heavy weapon. I can have both heavy weapons if I want and just run around going Blur!
Yeah, the handyman have the weight and heaviness of the fights with the big daddies from the first two games, but they also have this great verticality because you have the skyhook, which is a whole other mechanic that's unique to this game that is...
We'll get to that.
Yeah, the funnest part of the combat. But the fact that they can jump on sky hooks and the fact that they can like jump large distances, it really, they can close distances between you much faster.
The thing that really annoys me is that the only clue you have if you're on the other side of the map on the skylines that the handyman is charging up and about to electrocute you is a voice cue. Mm-hmm. And he goes, get down from there. And then he electrocutes the skylines. And after he says that voice cue, you have like a couple seconds to get down. And I was able to do that because I had my headphones on and I was listening and that's fine. But like, it made me wonder, like, how is somebody who maybe cannot hear, is maybe, has some hearing issues, how do they fight that guy on the skylines? They don't. They would just have to stay on the ground and keep a perfect eye on him at all times. Yeah. Because a lot of the cues as to where he is are all in like your audio processing. And it's like, you could have put some sort of, I don't know, maybe there is an accessibility option. I haven't checked, but like, it seems like that would be something that would be annoying if you couldn't hear the cue that he's about to electrocute you.
You got to see an evolution from the first one to the second one in terms of combat. Or I say the second one, there wasn't one in between, but between the two Ken games, which...
the two Ken games?
Yeah. Which,
we talked about this. I watched you play the second one, and there was stuff that Ken definitely took.
Yes, it does.
Like Eleanor being there, it's just Elizabeth.
It makes me wonder, like, I was thinking about it afterwards, if maybe he was, like, showing his notes to the studio of, like, yeah, I'm planning this for the second one. It's about this girl you have to rescue, and, like, you're her dad, but we don't know that yet. And then they were like, yes, we'll do that first, though, and then you can do it better. Like, or if it was just kind of like a work in progress, maybe he started out, like, genuinely wanting to, like, do a straight sequel to the first one, and then he did that infamous napkin doodle that you'll see in the thing where it's, no, yes.
I love that napkin doodle.
And yeah, that's another extension too of the series is moving it from below the sea to up in the sky. And let's talk about the character of Elizabeth. We haven't really talked about Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, I love you. I love her so much. She's so great. Her arc is really great, where she starts out being like, I just want to go to Paris. That's all I want to do. I just want to leave and go to Paris. And then finding out that her parents aren't her parents, and that everything, she's first finding out that her dad is Comstock, then finding out that he's not her dad. Like, she has such a problem, and she goes through all of these stages of trying to deal with her problems and at the same time run away from them. And then finally she goes, no, you know what? This guy put a needle in my spine. I'm going to murder him now. No.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, she does kind of like become more comfortable with killing as an arc.
but she still isn't, though. Like, she doesn't help you do regular combat. She just throws you stuff and you do the killing.
It's not like she's picking up a machine gun in that last battle.
She kills exactly one person, and that's Daisy Fitzroy, and that's because Daisy Fitzroy threatens a child.
I guess you're counting the scientists being killed by the tornado, not her.
Well, like, I was gonna kill them anyway, but yeah, I guess she does kill those two guys. Still, though, wouldn't you want to kill people who shoved a needle into your spine?
Yes.
That's like,
And
it's
she grew up
bad.
in like this extreme isolation where her only friend was a giant mechanical bird.
Yes, it was a giant mechanical bird. And so, like, the first time she sees you, she reaches out to touch you like she can't believe that you're an actual person standing in front of her. That's her whole life. It's just the giant mechanical bird.
Mm-hmm. Which many fans theorize might also be a version of Booker.
I love that fan theory. The fan theory that it's a version of Booker that Comstock was like, yeah, you can take care of her, but you're going to be a giant bird monster who obeys my every command. Because it canonically is, the songbird is based off of the handyman, or not the handyman, the big daddies from the first one, because they're stealing technology from other universes. So one of the technologies that Jeremiah Fink steals is, in fact, handyman, or not handyman,
Big Daddy.
Big Daddies.
Yeah.
So the songbird is based off of that tech, which means that there's someone in there.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's in that bird.
Yeah, even if it's just like their brain or
and look
something.
at all the ways that all the different Bookers die. Comstock gets drowned in the bird bath. Booker DeWitt gets drowned in the middle of the convergence point. And Songbird fucking explodes underwater.
Gets drowned.
Basically, in Rapture. So it kind of fits the theme, and I love that fan theory. It's probably not true. There's probably some sort of interview where Ken Levine was like, no, it's not true, and then Songbird's not Booker. No.
Or like he's just like, yes, it is true. I
definitely planned that. Shifty eyes, blink, blink.
Yeah, authors have never done that before.
Yeah, but like even Songbird's death, see, foreshadowing is my favorite writing tool. I love foreshadowing because good foreshadowing, when you get to the part that you foreshadowed, it adds to everything else, because that means that what you did didn't just come out of nowhere. It wasn't just something that happens and then everyone's shocked it's happened because it makes no sense. And you're like, what? It's like, this has been a natural building. We have foreshadowed the shit out of this. And so when you see it, your reaction isn't, what? It's, what? Like Westworld season 1.
Yeah.
Where, what?
Yeah, or like any of the great, twists. Not Dion.
Not Dion.
Spoiler alert, but check out our review if you want to hear more on our thoughts on
we'll put the link in the doobly-doo.
Unforeshadowed twist to Dion.
Yeah, it's not good. It's a bad
It's like
twist.
the exact opposite of Bioshock
but
Infinite.
this game is like a master in foreshadowing. If you ever want to really understand foreshadowing as a narrative device, this is the game to play. It foreshadows that Songbird's gonna die underwater, because when you fall into the water and Songbird tries to follow you, his eye cracks. It foreshadows that Elizabeth is temporally powerful because she's missing a part of her body. Because the very first time you show up in the tower and you're looking at her through that two-way mirror, she grabs her hand and shakes it a little because it hurts, because you're standing there. They foreshadow this shit. And so if you ever want something, like if you like narratives and you like storytelling and you like writing, I recommend this game to everybody because it's got some masterful storytelling in it. And even if you can disagree with me, some people hate this game. I'm sure that they have their reasons, but like, I don't know. I think that this is one of the best games that's come out. And it's the first game ever that I felt like it was art that I played it. Like, I played Dragon Age Origins. That was my first game that I ever played from start to finish. And I loved it and it was fun. But at no point did I ever go, this is art, right? It was more like, this is a really fun story that I'm having a really good time with. And also the first game I ever finished. So it's got a special part in my soul. But then I played Bioshock Infinite, and it felt like art.
Well, anything else to say about the series other than
Just that
you
I love it, and it's amazing, and I had a really good time playing through it again with you and talking about it. I'm really happy that we got to play it, and
I have loved playing through it with you. It's been an absolute blast, and I've enjoyed all our conversations and all of the reliving some of the better moments of the game and some of the more confusing stuff, which I think I need like maybe an Inception-esque flowchart.
So let's talk about Far Cry 5.
Oh, no. Run, everybody. She has more opinions.
Far Cry 5, god damn it. No, we did talk about Far Cry 5 a lot.
Yes.
In this series.
Which is, it has some similarities in tone and in plot lines, but we won't get into that. We'll save that for our Far Cry review.
Yeah, we're gonna end up doing that.
Multiple tangents about one Joseph Seed and how he compares to one Zachary Hill.
Well, it's
Comstock.
not my fault that they have a lot in common, but that Zachary Comstock is way better done. Like, they're going for the same vibe. They're going for the same. That's something actually we didn't talk about was Comstock.
Comstock as a villain.
As a villain, that guy, I know exactly what he's about. Give me money. I see the future. Give me money. I'm racist.
Which, by the way, does he see the future? Because you see those placards at the end that perfectly describe everything.
Well, he sees the probabilities, right? She said she doesn't see the future. She sees he sees probability. So he saw the probability that at some point he was going to die. And this is how he thought it was going to go down. And it did.
Exactly. Well,
exactly.
He even knew that Elizabeth would stab.
Which, you know what that means? That means that in all of the infinite worlds that he's in, there's enough certainty that this was always how it was going to end. And if you think about it, they only got to 123 bookers. That's really not that many bookers. Like you said, it barely causes a blip. So like, he was always going to end this way, kind of thing. Like, if it wasn't this booker, it would be a different booker. And Comstock, who like
is a twist. Your villain is the game should be called "So I Was the Asshole All Along."
It was me, Patrick. I'm the maniac. Yeah, that was when he said I'm both, I was like, what?
Yeah, that's the big mic drop moment at the end of the game. That's why there's not really much after that except for that small coda, which I skipped past. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The coda, which you didn't see, but we'll show in this video, is your booker, you're lying on the ground, you get up, you hear crying, he says Anna, and he opens the door.
Yeah, you don't even see the baby. But
you don't even see the baby, but you just hear it, and it's like kind of up in the air. Is that a thing, or are you just hearing things?
Yeah.
I know it's probably ruined by the DLC, but in my heart and soul, there's a version out there where Booker DeWitt and Anna are happy.
Yeah, out of the billions of universes, there must be one, right? Where
constants and variables.
Things just lined up. Maybe he was like, I won't have that second drink today. Or like maybe that horse isn't a good bet.
Just bets on the right horse and they're millionaires. Yeah. The thing about Comstock is that he's very effective and good as a villain because even though he doesn't show up all that much in person, like he's not there in person.
There's a lot of like television screen taunting you, which is something that
Bioshock does.
Andrew Rand did, yeah. I'm thinking of also like Joker in Arkham Asylum, where it's just a lot of showing up on televisions.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, hi. It's because if I got my hands on you, I'd beat the shit out of you. So
yeah, basically.
I really think that having that twist and then having that villain be, the more he was on screen, the more you would have been able to guess. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
It's like the more and more you actually saw him, the more you would have been able to guess that he's the same guy. Yeah, is he voiced by, what's his name? Troy Baker?
I don't think so. Maybe. Okay. But I don't think so. I'd have to have a look.
Yeah, I would have
to take 5 seconds to look it up on the internet, which I am not going to do.
We're not going to do right now because we're going to wrap it up. Well, no, if you have more thoughts, I'm open to hearing them.
Well, I mean, I think we've talked about a lot of the game through it, talked about how BS that ghost is.
Die! No, don't fly away. I need you to die. Oh, I was so close to killing her. That ghost is BS. I don't like that ghost.
It feels probably the most out of place thing in the entire game.
It's the first ghost fight that is the hard one. And it's because She can raise the dead and you're in a literal graveyard. That ghost fight is not fun.
It's the worst fight in the whole game.
The other ghost fights are kind of fun when they're finished. And then you're like, oh, great, I'm glad that's done.
Mm-hmm. I think that we had a lot of fun playing Bioshock Infinite.
Yes.
And I'm definitely looking forward to the other games in this series.
Yes.
Tamara has to start thinking about what she wants to play next.
Well, I have some time.
You have some time, yeah.
I have a 12-hour to 15-hour long game to think about it.
Yeah.
So I have some time to consider what I want to play next. I haven't decided if I want to do the DLC next or if I want to do an actual other game. At some point, we're going to do Halo, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be fun. Am I going to play Halo?
You might. There's like 5 of them. But Bioshock Infinite is a wonderful game. 10 out of 10. Tamara recommends.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even today still holds up.
Yeah. Even with their terrifying baby faces that are just grown men faces on babies. Have you seen babies game developers? Because that's not what they look like.
Yeah. So on that note, creepy baby faces, we're going to sign off. Thank you everybody for watching our channel, and thank you everybody for supporting us. Remember to like, and if you're not subscribed, do so. We appreciate it. Thank you everybody. I am Chris.
And I'm Tamara.
And stay safe and be yourself.
Bye.
Bye.